Hey everyone, Loken and I are back to talk about the latest chapter of My Hero Academia. Join the discussion by leaving a comment and let us know what your take would be. Spoiler warning, this video will cover chapter 309 of My Hero Academia. If you enjoy these videos, please help support the channel by leaving a like and subscribing to Texas Smash. Hit the bell icon and turn on all notifications so that you can be sure to catch us every time a new chapter is released. Let's nerd out together. "309 leads off with the students of Keitsubetsu Academy that were on the scene during the muscular fight from last chapter. Deku is gone before anyone can speak to him, much less thank him. The civilians that Shindo and Turtleneck were originally sent to help evacuate end up reaching out to the injured Shindo to offer assistance. Deku uses his smoke quirk to cloak himself, quickly drops off Muscular at the police station, and is off yet again. This time Deku is off to check in with All Might, who we later learn is watching over Deku along with Endeavor, Hawks, and Genist. All Might asks Deku how his newly acquired compression gauntlet is holding up. While it may not support 100% one-for-all smash, it does help to ease the physical burden of one-for-all. All Might reminds Deku not to overdo yourself before the final showdown. Hawks calls to check in with All Might on Deku's safety. Loken, before you jumped on, Rose was telling me that Tateki Itajiro, Boomerang Man, we saw him. So I bet you forgot this because I surely did. Or Rose, do you want to tell him since you're the one that...
The Toteki Itajiro guy was in the provisional license exam arc. I think that was the one, right, when it was all the schools together. Yeah, because he was the guy that because the Mr. Smith guy, he hardened the balls that they were supposed to hit at the targets, and then he passed them to the Boomerang Man and he threw them underneath the ground, and then Jiro shook the ground, which made them all go everywhere. And that's in case you forgot who he was.
I don't know how you could forget Boomerang Man. He's so important.
He looks so plain.
I actually looked them up because I just wanted to see who they were exactly.
It's like a cross between Danki and Aizawa with his face and his hair.
Well, we remember the stiffening guy because he was the one that called Shindo and Turtleneck to tell him to get out of there.
Yeah.
So we already looked him up. Right.
I'm pretty sure even the Boomerang guy was mentioned as well. Like, this whole class is in this area and we're communicating just a few chapters ago. That's who they've been
the
in
whole
contact
class
with. Like,
no,
the majority
just
of them. Right. I mean, I'm not saying every single one of them, but like this guy, Toteki, I'm pretty sure he was mentioned. And yeah, it was the Maccabi who was also on the phone with them.
But it's only 4.
Just found something funny on the panel underneath where it says the Toteki guy's name and the Maccabe's name. You know how on the building it says KO or the initials of KO or whatever? I just had an image as in like a wrestling ring and like Deku's just beating Muscular and is flying through the air with him, and it just says KO on the screen.
Nice.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was intentional, but it looks quite
right.
funny.
That doesn't seem like it happened by accident.
I find it nice that when Turtleneck saw Deku, she was like, "Oh, that voice sounds familiar, but where was it from?" And Shindo's just there like, "Oh, it's that guy. It looked like the kid from the exam, but he looks totally different this time. Is he really the same dude?" And it's like, It's nice that he remembered.
I felt from that, I took it more, not necessarily, how he looked, but also how he presented himself. Because, I mean, Deku, I think we talked about it even previously, of just the way he's carrying himself as a hero, that he's gotten more into that role of being a pro hero and, being like All Might.
Yeah.
So I think it was more he recognized Deku as more someone who's just more confident and has finally, gotten to the level of a pro hero.
Yeah, imagine Muscular wakes up and he's just there like, what the hell happened? Did I just get beaten by a kid again? Oh, I like how Deku
Oh,
put
go
his
ahead.
hands up, and I like how Deku put his hands up, and then he was just there like, oh, don't worry about me. There's this person right here, and then he just flew off.
He also, it's like, and he showed up, and he's using his smoke quirk again, even though he's like
I think it's just like
hiding
hide.
himself.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think it's to hide his
And
face
then
so that no one questions him.
definitely.
Because he's like the age of a high school student, so if he goes around like doing all the heavy work, then he's gonna be questioned quite a bit.
I
Yeah.
just thought it was cool showing up, throwing Muscular in there, and then the funny part, holding his hands up. That was good.
I like how he's like, oh,
Yep.
it looks like the fourth stain just sense has calmed down. It's like, yeah. That must have been a kill in his head, jeez.
I do wonder how intense is it really?
Yeah, well, I think when it
I think
first manifested, he was there like, oh, it's making me struggle to keep my consciousness, and it's like, oh.
it depends on the threat level too. Like in the war arc, it was probably going haywire. Where if Gentle comes back for another fight, it'll probably nudge
Yeah.
him.
I bet everyone's
Right.
like, oh yeah, it's
Minor
not fair.
headache.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people are like, oh, it's not fair. Deku's like kind of invincible now, and I'm like, not really.
That's a good point, Rose. I actually did want to bring that one up.
Because it can have its flaws. Like sometimes he could like be too like proud of his abilities, and like he'll lose like track and focus, and then
Yeah, he does overvalue the court. I
yeah,
think the Sixers.
yeah, the 60s I did say that.
But the pendulum swings. Like, remember when Deku first got Black Whip? I mean, if
Yeah.
you can think back, uh, everyone was saying, "Oh, Deku's overpowered now. This isn't fair. Deku's broken. Deku's broken. Now he's going to get float. He's going to have all these quirks." But then we went to my villain academia and saw all the upgrades that the villains got, and everyone forgot about Deku. And then now we're back to Deku, and he's getting it. It's a pendulum, Like now Deku's getting his upgrades, but then a few months from now, because of XYZ on the villain side, which Loken brought up last week, we haven't seen them. We don't know what they're doing. They're up to something, So
And
Horikoshi
when
has
you
a good
think,
way of evening the playing field. Go ahead, Loken.
I was just gonna go along with that, like Shigaraki, we thought, oh wow, what quirks are he's gonna get? He's pretty much gonna be unstoppable. So I think that's a perfect like way to look at it. That's a pendulum swinging. The way you said that was perfect because it's either the villains get it or either the League of Villains and the PLF come together and everything. But Deku, it's going back and forth like a pendulum, like you said.
I wonder if
like it.
Deku's gonna get a new costume. It's like walking around in a ripped costume is like bound to get quite annoying after a while, surely.
Maybe he wants to wait till he's coming out of hiding before all that. But hey, so we're at the part where Melissa Shields officially coming into the main series now by way of her product. I think it's safe to say that that's her compression gauntlet, right? That Deku is using.
I think it's another version of it because I think Melissa's was full gauntlet and it could withstand the 100% punches, whereas this one can only withstand something that's under 100%, and it's just there as a stabilizing type of thing. So if he uses too much force on it, it might break them or something. Because when All Might was like, "Oh, it's just an endurance prototype. It's supposed to reinforce the arm. It's nowhere near strong enough to withstand your power at 100%."
So you think that
like,
came from the shields, or?
I think so, since it's really familiar to what Melissa did. I really hope they bring Melissa into the story.
And then All Might says, "Make sure not to overdo yourself before he uses the words, the final showdown." So all the speculation about how much longer is my hero going to go? Then you got All Might saying the final showdown. Horikoshi could just be playing with this, but maybe he's not. We don't know.
Yeah. But Kronos, all right. So now that we're seeing this, And now, like I said All
Mhm.
Might knows what Deku is doing. And I even was like, I bet even some of the other pro heroes know what Deku's doing. Now we've got confirmation that they are working together. So are you still in the line of thinking that Deku's a vigilante, or he does have approval for what he's doing?
No, I think, because he's under the wing of heroes with established agencies. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think by definition he's not a vigilante.
Mm.
Cool. Same.
But also, um, All Might, whenever he left with Deku, did we skip over that part? This is kind of where I thought you were going just now. They even said that's a bad idea. Don't do that. How much longer is All Might got? How many more chapters is he breathing, or does he live throughout the series?
Yeah. There's something I want to say about the final showdown part thing, like, because with you saying how long My Hero Academia is going to go on for, I hope it goes on for like a lot longer. Like, I hope that we're not like at the halfway point in the manga, or at least close to the halfway point or something. Because I feel like My Hero Academia won't end after the All for One fight, because it's showing Deku's journey to the greatest hero, and I feel like that might happen after the fight with All for One and stuff. So I'm hoping that at the end it like shows a few chapters of like Deku in his glory days or something. I don't know. I don't want it to end like
Right.
soon. Like
Right.
I want it to be at its halfway point, so we've still got a lot more to look forward to. But at the same time, I mean, it's been a good show, so it's fine.
Yeah. I think
See,
we're at least 3/4 of the way. So we got like 150 chapters left.
Mm,
I don't think we'll have 300 more chapters,
yeah.
but that'd be awesome if we do. I feel like All My will, to answer your question, Kronos, will die in the story.
in this arc,
I mean, if this is the final arc, I think just at the end he's going to sacrifice himself.
Mm,
okay, at the end. All
Whenever
right.
that showdown is when is my way of
So
thinking how I see it.
my take on My Hero ending, I'll be quick. All the best anime have an end. It sucks to see it go. Um,
yeah.
Not talking about My Hero, but some of my favorite animes. Akime ga Kill, finite
Yeah.
ending. Talking about anime. Full Metal Alchemist. Let me say Brotherhood because that's an important part. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood had a finite ending. Code Geass. All these anime. Whenever I get to the end of all these anime, I'm so bummed that I'm at the end of it, but I'm so grateful and it lives on. It stands the test of time because it has a calculated ending the
Mhm.
way the writer intended it to go down. It's not
Mm,
rushed. It's not drug on for the sake of greed. They were just putting filler. My Hero doesn't have filler really.
mm,
Um, so I've always it's a double-edged sword. Like obviously we love it, we all love it, but I think it would be better for the show and take a page from Dragon Ball. Like we could always have My Hero, whatever, a new saga and continue the story. But I think My Hero
mm,
Academia, honestly, I don't think it hits 500 chapters. I think it'll hit 400 for sure.
mm.
Big range, I know, but anywhere between the 4 and 500 marks is kind of how I feel. So I have mixed feelings. I don't mind it. I appreciate the value that ending the story, the value that that brings. But I am sad to see it go for sure, and I don't want it to end. But I do want it to be an epic ending because that's so important.
Yeah.
Anything to say on Hawks or anything on this first half before we
Uh,
move on?
Hawks' scar.
Right.
I didn't notice it at first, but then I had another look and I thought it was like just a mark, and I was like, because of his little stubble beard thing. And then I saw the bigger picture. I find it quite cool that he's got a scar on his face. Like,
Like Endeavor.
yeah, it suits him as well. I'm not saying he deserves it, but like, it doesn't look out of place. It just looks like it fits with his character.
Mm-hmm.
If you get what I mean.
And then another thing to note is his wings still haven't grown back.
Yeah, I hope they grow back at some point. Like maybe they just take extra long to like regenerate because they were literally burnt off. Maybe.
Right. No, I think if they do grow back, it's gonna be a while. But
Yeah.
and we're not seeing him, and they're not showing us his back. So whenever we do get to see it, hopefully, you would think that he could have them, that they would grow back. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Anyways, but
That is controversial, though. I actually put that in as a Q&A question on one of TURTLEQUIRK's videos whenever that was fresh when Dobby was burning him. Right after that chapter, right after Dobby burned the back of Hawks, Turtle's take was considering that it's a mutant quirk type, so if you were to cut off Ojiro's tail, it's not going to grow back. So you can argue both ways. I mean, I can see maybe Hawks is never the same again, and it does pave the way for the younger generation, which is kind of the point of the show. So
yeah.
I could see a situation where Hawks doesn't get his wings back. They're scorched. He's never able to return to how he was before. Maybe not. I don't know. I could see that as a possibility for sure. Which would suck, but like I said, it does clear the way for the kids to take the driver's seat,
Yeah.
right.
You got Genist with one lung, you got Hawks with burnt wings, got Endeavor that's slandered.
Yeah.
Mirko with one arm. I mean, time for the kids to take charge. We jump back slightly, back to when Deku was still in the hospital. We see Inko and All Might with Deku when the doctor gives his assessment. The doctor explains that Deku's anatomy seems to have changed over time. This is the only explanation he can give for the otherwise unnatural reason Deku's body isn't completely broken at this point. Once the doctor leaves, Inko asks All Might directly about Deku's quirk, to which All Might answers truthfully. This is when we see Deku speak up and state that he will not be returning to UA and putting more lives in danger. Deku makes it clear that his top priority is to stop Tamora. Inko is beyond sad to have this realization that the top villains in the world are after her son. She remembers when they used to play hero when Deku was a toddler, and tells Deku how she thought it was fun then, but has now become much too real. Deku comforts his mom and tells her that IZUKU Might will come back. The chapter wraps up with Deku talking to Gran Torino. Deku tells Torino what Nana had said in the Vestige world. Torino closes out the chapter with some heavy words. As for you, kiddo, don't be too stubborn about redeeming Shigaraki. Sometimes death can be a form of salvation too. Don't you ever forget that. Horikoshi bringing the hospital bed joke into it's officially canon joke now. So Horikoshi's awesome, honestly. That's cool. Not every writer would do that,
Yeah. I also like how they clarified Deku's situation when they were like, oh yeah, you were told before that if you were to get hurt like this again, you wouldn't be able to move. But this isn't the case because in the past you incurred injuries from within your body, but this time the damage was external, so it didn't affect it. And it's like, ooh. So it's like his and because of the injuries that he sustained, his anatomy is different. I don't know what that means, but
I'm really glad you brought that up and pointed that out, because that's that's been a huge discussion of, well, exactly, he was told one more time and you're done, but now, all right, cool, everything was dealt externally, and then from there, his anatomy being different, I really think it's just one for all that is fusing more and more with his body, just like how All Might, when he does use it, he gets big. So I feel like as Deku's gaining more, because it shows 5% and 45%, so maybe as he's getting more and more control over it and
his
access,
body's getting stronger with it.
exactly,
It's
which
getting strong bones.
so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he even kind of looks different. His body just is like, he's getting more and more, just it looks like ripped and stuff. I'm like, you're already pretty tiny, but cool.
Yeah, I like how the doctor was like, "Oh, whether it's a side effect of your quirk, I don't know, but your internal structure seems to have been protected from the inside and out." And I'm like, "Wow, cool, nice."
So you think the vestiges have something? The vestiges are defending his insides?
They protect each limb. Da-da-da-da.
Oh, so I hate to do this. We've already moved on, but this just clicked in my head that Loken, way earlier, you were talking about how Shindo was saying Deku, how he kind of recognized him, sort of. We were talking about that briefly.
Right.
But he looks so different. The title of the chapter, I Can't Stay a Kid Forever. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, that just falls right in line with what you're saying. He's just matured, is all it
yeah.
is. Which is what you said. He's acting like All Might. That's why he doesn't recognize him so much.
Right.
Sorry, that
even
just
in like
clicked in my
the
head, the chapter title. Sorry.
yeah, no. I mean, I just when you look at the picture of a 5% versus 45, I mean, I know it's just a drawing or whatnot, but it does look like he's, like you said, maturing. That's actually really good. Maturing to me.
Yeah.
He's very matured now.
Seeing the amount of scars that he's got on himself now. He's got like scars on his chest and a bit on his neck and everything. God.
He's a badass. Like,
He's
cool.
gonna be the scarred man, you know. Oh,
He's going to be
I
real
like.
scarred when. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rose.
Sorry. I was just moving on to the Inko scenes, like saying, "No, I find it cool how Inko called Deku by his hero name and being like, oh, could you please explain Deku's quirk?' And then Deku and All Might were just there like, ugh." Anyway,
Yeah.
you were saying?
It's about time she gets. It's about time Inko gets. She's his mom, after all.
Yeah, she deserves
Why is
to
she the
know.
last to know? Right.
Yeah, exactly. God. And she was. Yeah, and she was so cool about it as well. Like when they explained the quirk, she was just there like, "Oh, okay." I thought she would have a more of a massive breakdown. I mean, she did break down, but she's been quite calm and collected about it, which is nice.
Well, I was just thinking that to me, you see their face like Izuku and All Might, and they look almost more ashamed and like disappointed in themselves that they did lie to her, kept it a secret, and then to your point, Rose, we don't really see her react
Yeah,
to being told about the quirk, which I would have thought that they could have gone more into that, like, why didn't you trust me? Like she could have felt betrayed, but we don't really know how her reaction was to learning the truth. It just jumps right to
What
more
happens
of
next?
yeah.
yeah,
I
And
mean, sort of. You do get a reaction, but it's not the whole reaction. That's
yeah.
when she's looking and says, "What happens next?" But
Yeah, I like how after that it was like All Might was just like, "Oh, we're prepared to protect him if it's UA," and then Deku cuts him off and he's like, "Oh, I won't be going back to UA," and it's like, oh, I thought
but
someone
you
would
could
have told
tell.
Deku that his best decision is to leave, but instead it's Deku making his own decision.
But you could tell All Might wanted Deku to reach that conclusion on his own, and he
Yeah,
did. So,
yeah.
as if we needed another example of Deku making All Might proud.
yeah.
But
I bet Inko's worrying even more now since she knows that the two biggest villains are after her son, and it's like, God, I feel bad.
I do wonder about All Might's mom and dad. The way that
Yeah.
he sees Inko and he's remembering Nana.
Mm.
And he's mentioned before about how Deku's mom reminds him of her. I wonder if, did he not have a good childhood? I mean, it seems like Nana, not biologically, but for all intents and purposes, Nana was his mother figure, at least. So,
Yeah.
on the subject of All Might, because we're almost at the end of his part of this chapter, I'm going to give Danny Boy credit for this one because this was his idea, but I do like it a lot. If
Yeah.
All Might does die, I think everyone would agree that Deku gets pushed over the edge by this when it occurs.
Mm.
Danny's idea, which I love, honestly, I would like to see this happen this way. Deku versus Bakugo round 3 is inevitable.
Mm.
His idea was basically 180 degrees of round 2. Remember how Bakugo felt so sad? He felt responsible, basically.
Yeah.
Now we're flip-flopped. because All Might was trying to protect Deku and made the decision to come with Deku, Deku's going to feel like he killed All Might. And it's
Yeah.
going to be up to Bakugo to smack some sense into him, basically. I
Yeah.
can see that happening. I do like that. That would be cool, I think.
For
It's so
sure.
heartwarming, but Deku just looks all smiley and just holds Inko's hand. It's like, and then Inko's like, "Oh, I was so happy for you. I laughed with you. I was happy then, but now." And then it referred back to the Izuku saving his mum scene, and then I don't know. I just found that scene really heartwarming. Like when it's just them
yeah.
laughing together, and it's like, "Oh, thank you for saving me, Izuku, mate." And then Deku's just there like, "Oh, which is why I have to go to save more people as Izuku might, but don't worry, I will come back." And it's like, oh, it's just heartbreaking.
Horikoshi has to remind everybody how sweet Inko is so that everyone's even more upset whenever All for One gets her.
Yeah. And everyone needs to remember how Inko looks a lot like Nana Shimura. Like, especially in the photo when it's her crying, holding Deku, she looks a lot like Nana Shimura in that image. And it's like,
Yeah.
imagine if All Might's just looking at them and he's just there like, oh no.
Those scenes have all the feels right there.
Yeah. The theory of Inko being related to Nana Shimura is actually a really good theory. I'm starting to like it more now. I don't know how true it is, but it'd be quite interesting to figure out if it's true or not. It'd be quite interesting if it is true, though, wouldn't it?
That would make Deku and Tamura related in some way.
Yeah, which will probably give Deku more of a reason to try and help him, maybe.
I mean, I'd think a lot of them are related one way or another. So
Yeah.
Quick side note, because this is not related to this chapter, but I recently had a thought that Setsuna and Spinner, could they not be related? I
Oh.
mean, anyway, I did want to mention, I don't want to talk, there's not much to talk about on this one panel, but Genus cracks me up every time he's on the screen. And so I'm always like reading his panels, waiting for his next joke. And he didn't really say a joke, but then I noticed the way he was holding the phone, and then I was like, oh, there it is. There's
is
the
one
joke.
reader. I like how above Hawks' head it's like, what are you doing with that phone? Just
Right.
what is he doing with it?
Yeah.
Is
He's
it
holding
supposed to
it.
be a brush or
I think he's just
what?
holding it like elegantly. Like, you know how he is, like the way he
Yeah.
poses and stuff.
It
Like,
just looks
I think
so
he's just being
sad.
goofy. Yeah.
God.
I don't know.
I thought at first when I first saw it, I was like, I thought it was maybe a comb. He was combing his hair, and then I thought it was maybe like a beret, like he was putting
Yeah.
a clip in his hair.
It's exactly the same phone that Deku has, so maybe they have like a walkie-talkie that they use to communicate with each other, maybe? I don't know. I
So
wonder what
weird.
building they're in, though.
But the way he's, yeah. Genius is just weird, but he's hilarious.
He's funny, yeah.
I love Genius. I love Genius.
I'm glad he's back.
Yeah, and then anything on Gran Torino? I got something on Gran Torino.
I found it funny with the scene when he was just laughing and he's like, "Oh, she's still crying in the afterlife, is she?" And then he's like, "Oh, at least I'm not dead yet. I can't done you right now, Nana."
Even though he should be,
I
but
liked it when I like how Gran Torino was like, "Oh, as for you, kid, don't be too stubborn about redeeming Shigaraki. Sometimes death can be a form of salvation too." And I was like, "Oh, he'll
That
save
statement
Shigaraki
right
by
there,
killing him." I just
exactly. Reading that right there is almost like a seed being planted in Deku to me, and that if it grows, that is maybe how. Because what if All for One does take over,
Yeah,
Tamura,
and
and
Shigaraki's
that's how
struggling,
he
and then he's like, "Alright, I have to, like, stop this. If I kill him, he won't be in pain anymore." And it's like,
exactly
"Oh,
to save
yeah.
him, I must kill him.
That's so sad to think about, oh my god."
Yeah. I
Oh,
just think it's a prequel to what is to come, and that's why he said that to Deku, to
yeah.
let him know that sometimes they have to die to be saved.
Yeah, it's like how when Gran Torino passed his cape on Stekken, you're like, "Oh, don't you ever forget that." Because I feel like Gran Torino knows about as well that maybe the only reason to ending this battle is to kill Shigaraki, even if he is related to one of the users, like Oh, it's so sad.
That changes my whole outline or thought process of how everything will go down, though. Reading that, I mean, that just it's a very bold statement to me for him to be saying that, and I think there's a lot of things hidden behind that with him saying that. So it'll be interesting to see the outcome from it.
I was actually gonna. You beat me to it. I was gonna talk about that line as well. I like it for everything that you said, and the only thing that I would add on to that is other series won't do this. My Hero does, and it's one of the things that makes it stand out above the rest. Like, take Dragon Ball. Goku's gonna save everybody. Or I always beat up on Dragon Ball because it's easy. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like My Hero as a series is not scared to go away from the standard cliche that most animes have of, hey, you can save everybody. Don't kid yourself. If you tried hard enough, you could save everybody. And My Hero's a little more like, hey, things don't always go how you picture perfect fairy tale world. I like that they deliver that realism, the dark side of things, which is a reality, and it makes the show better, honestly.
Right.
So
it's a true
I did like
reflection of our reality. No, sometimes that people die. It's just you can't do it. So yep.
Sometimes the person's just crazy. End of story. Well, they're a bad person. You cannot save them. It's not always the case, but yeah, it's very case by case. Look at how different the villains are throughout My Hero. Like, Horikoshi's definitely the man as far as that's concerned. Not just with villains, but with characters, I think.
Yep.
But yeah, I definitely wanted to talk about that specific line that you already brought up, Locan. And then Rose, last page, yeah, pretty cool closeout.
Yeah,
I think
I like how each of the people in that panel as well have like something to do with the League of Villains as well. Like All For One made one of Veshina's organ gets destroyed, and then he destroyed All Might. Deku's got beef with Shigaraki. Hawks has beef with Darby and maybe Shigaraki. I don't know. And then Endeavor's just there for Darby. Just find that quite funny. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, time to repay the favor to the League of Villains. Like they all do have beef with them.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Top 3: Deku and All Might.
Atsushi's Twitter thing, it says that the chapter ends with the new resolve, the heroes are starting up again. I think that's
okay, that's the teaser. All right.
Yeah. So the heroes are rising again. Yay. Heroes rising.
Heroes rising. All right. All right. Well, I've already said it. I went on record with it, so I'm gonna still hope that that I Am Here occurs before 313. So we got 4 more chapters to make it happen.
Yeah.
But the Heroes Rising, that's a good step towards that direction. I am on pins and needles waiting for Deku to say I am here. So.
Yeah.
But as far as 309, anything else about the whole chapter before we close out? Anything that we missed?
Not that I can think of. It was a really good chapter, though. I really enjoyed it.
It's gonna be good. This chapter was this good, so I feel like we're getting a lot, and it's moving quickly. So
yeah.
So I know I like it when shocking things happen in anime.
Yeah.
So I always sound like I'm rooting for people to die, and that's not really the case. I just like the shock value. I think it adds
just imagining
value.
you reading a chapter, be like, "Oh, why isn't he dead yet?"
Yeah, like Gran Torino, this chapter. Like, shut up, dude. You shouldn't even be talking.
You're an old man. Why ain't you dead yet?
So I say all that to say, because I'm going to ask your honest opinion. I kind of referenced it earlier, but for real, like, why is Horikoshi putting all these sweet Inko moment scenes in now?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, maybe Deku can run because they can pick Ragdoll's quirk and find Deku. But if they know where Deku's mom is, Deku will come to them. I mean, All For One's not stupid. So, and then Horikoshi might have deliberately done all this so that. I mean, what do y'all guys think? You think Inko gets captured or no?
I hope not, but it sounds quite likely.
I don't think
Mm.
so. I mean, unless there's something that we're not. I mean, obviously there's things, other factors we don't know about. So I
Yeah.
don't want to jump to conclusions yet that she's gonna be kidnapped. But for me, I think it was just timing because we all were like, where is Deku's mom? Why is she not at the hospital? I think it was
Mm.
just a moment to be endearing, not
Yeah.
a foreshadowing of her getting kidnapped or killed or in danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. She's at UA now, though. Like, are they
Yeah.
gonna attack UA?
Mm.
Like we said before, or Kronos, you said it before that UA is probably one of the most secure places right now. So if the villains have got it together that quick and they're gonna go after them, like, we'll see.
Plot twist. This chapter, that wasn't Inko. That was Toga.
Oh,
All right. Cool. Anything else on
that's a
309?
creepy. That's a creepy
That is a
thought to
creepy
think
thought,
about.
right? She's like,
He's in
Deku
love
doesn't
with
love me,
Deku,
but
and it's his
right.
mom.
If I
Like,
look like his mom, he'll
oh,
hug me.
creep. Yeah, nah, I'm good on that.
That sounds
Damn.
like a Toga trick for sure.
Mm.
Creepy. The only other thing I'm curious about too is just because even Deku saying that, if Shiggy gets perfect, he's sooner than later. I wonder where he's at in his development. I hope we do
Mhm.
get an update of at what level is he at as well.
Right, which ties back to what we were talking about earlier with the pendulum.
Right.
So for all you watching that are saying Deku's broken and concerned about the series, don't be, because I guarantee you Tamura's gonna have every bit as much, if not more, upgrades than we're seeing with Deku. So
Yeah.
Yep.
all right. Any closing
Cool.
comments, or are we good?
Good.
Good to go? All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Later, Craig.
Bye.
I'll make sure to keep that in the recording.
No.
As always, thank you guys so much for watching. My Hero is not on break next week, so we will be back next Friday with a special guest we've never had before on Texas Smash. We'll see you guys then to talk chapter 310.
I'm the Mario Doctor.
Let's go!